Ross Merriam, 28th ranked player this year, playing Dredge. Ross had a couple Players' Championship appearances to his name. Has an uphill battle to get a third one. Right now, not there on the standings. We start off the game with Ross winning the die roll. He's on the play at 7-1. Starts on Steam Vent's Faithless Looting. So draw of 2. He finds a copy of Greater Gargadon. He said that he's really enjoyed the card in his deck. It's high variable. That and Bridge from Below. They've been very good when drawn together. Drawn apart, it's been a hit or miss sort of affair. So he puts Narcomoeba and Stinkweed Imp into the graveyard.
Ross is using a method for displaying his graveyard that we used to see a lot in Legacy. You just fan all the cards across, all the information is open, really easy. Well, difficult to grok if you're just approaching this like, what is going on? What are all those cards doing on the table? But once you kind of have a feel for the Dredge deck, it'll be a lot easier to figure out what's going on.
Flooded Strand for Adam Dennison. He's going to start on Champion of the Parish. And that is off Temple Gardens. We go back to Ross. Now this deck's not going to, Ross is not going to dredge his deck as fast as its Legacy counterpart, but it's, with this started, it'll be pretty good. We see Stinkweed Imp, and it's going to mill 5, and what a 5.
Nice.
Bloodghast, Conflagrate, Narcomoeba, and Prized Amalgam. This is a phenomenal dredge for Ross.
Those are 4 favorable cards to flip over. When we saw Todd on camera earlier, his dredges were nowhere near that good.
So I said this is nothing like the Legacy version. I guess I need to correct myself. It's everything like the Legacy version.
I don't know. The Legacy version might actually be winning on this turn, so you're still right.
Insolent Neonate is the play from Ross Merriam. He's going to sacrifice it immediately to discard and draw. So he discards Stinkweed Imp, and then he draws it. So a fancy Tome Scour, I guess? Bridge from Below, Narcomoeba, another Stinkweed Imp, and a Dakmor Salvage.
And with Gargadon in hand, this is not bad.
So now there's a Bridge from Below in the yard. This just feels great.
Yeah,
how do we lose?
You can't complain about this dredging. A second bridge would be excellent.
Remember, Ross, this is turn 2. I love this stuff. I hope he's just going to go for the kill right away. This is totally fair. Opponent getting an Oracle Wording. My guess is on Bridge from Below. That card's weird.
Yes. When you see a card in the Future Sight card frame, you know it's old enough that something may have changed.
So, Copperline Gorge will put Bloodghast onto the battlefield.
And one of the great ironies of Magic the Gathering. Future Sight, that's old school.
Greater Gargadon is now suspended. So Ross can sacrifice all of everything to remove counters. He's got a Bridge from Below too. Just great. Keep in mind that Prized Amalgam on the end step, that guy's going to come into play because Ross put 3 things out of the graveyard. Let's do it. There's the 3/3. He'll pass back, making 7 power and a suspending guy that turn. All in a day's work.
A turn's work.
He paid for all of those things.
Gavin is soul naming humans. See if you can counter this one, Ross.
Thalia's Lieutenant. Good, too. Puts 2 counters on the Champion of the Parish. Take 3, maybe?
I have to imagine there's going to be some zombies getting in the way here. This informs me that, well, actually, Ross does not want to kill this creature in combat. Because it would exile the Bridge from Below. Though he does get the free block, make a zombie by sacrificing the Narcomoeba. Or even just let damage happen.
We'll see whether or not he sacked one to the Gargadon. It doesn't look like... I don't think he did. I think he just let it die in combat, opting not to sack the Gargadon.
A lot of time, you want Gargadon to hang out on suspend for a while.
So you just want, like, you'd pay 1 mana for an emblem that just says, you may sacrifice a creature?
Ross has been saying he would like to have like a 5th and a 6th sacrifice outlet. I think if you could just have a 1-mana enchantment that said 0 sacrifice a creature, he'd be very happy with that.
Okay. He'll also sacrifice the Bloodghast for a zombie. Because this is neat. Yeah, might as well upgrade the Narcomoeba while we're at it, too.
Yep. Flying doesn't matter when the 2/2 can just attack into the 1/1.
This is great.
You would lose the bridge again if he just attacks into the 1/1.
Interesting. Ross is going to dredge Dakmor Salvage instead of Stinkweed Imp. So presumably he doesn't have a land. Dredges Insolent Neonate and Mountain. Salvage goes into his hand.
All right, things are slowing a little bit down for Ross here.
He's going to have to fire up the Shriekhorn in his hand then, get things rolling again.
Really get this engine humming with that Shriekhorn.
Gosh, that card is just a delight.
The backbone of many a constructed deck.
Yeah, so here's a reasonable swing of 9 damage.
And a chump block here would exile the bridge from Ross's graveyard. However, doesn't really do a lot now that all those zombies have been made. And also, the Gargadon can just sacrifice the creature that the Lieutenant blocks as well.
Yeah. So he took the damage. And now that Adam took all the damage, but Ross, sacrifice Prized Amalgam, make a zombie. It's going to come back at the end of this turn anyway. Red for Conflagrate. He's flashing that one back, discarding 3. Discarding Shriekhorn, Stinkweed, Imp, Faithless Looting. So 3 damage any way he chooses. He'll go all of it at Adam. Gosh.
He'll go any which way.
Champion of the Parish in the graveyard. Bridge from below should be exiled off that. Yeah, Ross will take care of that. Plays Dakmor Salvage as his last card. So there comes the Bloodghast back into play, and on the end step, Prized Amalgam will join it. And Ross discarded a Faithless Looting off that Conflagrate too, so he has 2 lootings set up to go.
Yeah, on the following turn, there's a few different ways, types of permanents that Ross can sacrifice to put the Gargadon onto the battlefield. With Dennison down to 8, any Bloodghast that get turned over and triggered will have haste. Hard to imagine Ross not just winning on the following turn here.
All right. Adam, now we will take his 3rd turn. Or he will not. He will scoop his cards.
This game did not do a great job at showcasing how cool Adam's deck is. Land spell, land spell.
He plays some human cards. They attack and block and do things sometimes.
Yep.
Not that game.
They attack and block just like 2/2 zombie tokens.
Well, all right. Adam Dennison finds himself in a hole after a quick game 1. We're going to look at his sideboard, though. If you look at it, what you'll realize that Adam was aware of this deck when he registered his list today.
Yep.
Walk me through his sideboard, because I think he's got a lot of cards that will play.
2 Rest in Peace, clearly great. Those are for sure coming in. 1 Surgical Extraction that can also buy you a little bit of time, turn off a specific piece from the Dredge deck. Depending on how things get flipped over on Ross's side, the Surgical can actually be backbreaking, though clearly not as good as Rest in Peace. There's some argument for Meddling Mage and Stubborn Denial.
Yeah, I actually really like Meddling Mage. Keep in mind here that there's a lot of cards in Adam's list that aren't going to play. So
yeah,
especially if he's, a Faithless Looting perhaps could be named. I guess there's not too much that Ross casts out of the graveyard. This isn't Legacy Dredge where you name Dread Return.
Right.
Ross's value is happening in non-spell ways.
Most of what Ross did, he suspended a greater Gargadon. He dredged some stuff. He bloodgasted, he prized Amalgams.
Can't do any of this.
Meddling Mage was behind the turn 1 Faithless Looting. There's going to be some games where it's just kind of not a card.
Is Faithless Looting the only spell that Ross actually cast that game?
He flashbacked Conflagrate.
That's actually worth Meddling Maging.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to back up.
Yep.
Conflagrate's really important to Meddling Mage.
Yep, depending on how large he's able to make his creatures with his lords, the Meddling Mage on Conflagrate could actually be quite significant.
But that's about it. How do you feel about Lantern Scout or Selfless Spirit?
Life Gain is all right. The thing about it is that he's either ahead of what Ross is doing or he's behind, and gaining some life I don't think is going to turn that around.
All right. So there'll be some play here, especially with Adam going first in game 2. Going over to Ross's sideboard, he's got a full play set of Leyline of the Void. He's got Ancient Grudges, Nature's Claims, Knot of the Bones, Abrupt Decays, another Conflagrate, another Collective Brutality, and then a Dark Blast.
Conflagrate seems great here. Dark Blast, probably quite good. I assume that one's coming in. Collective Brutality will probably trade with something. Kind of an issue is what Ross likes this card for is discarding cards. The
Yeah.
non--2/-2 modes are kind of weak here, though I could see that one coming in. Abrupt Decay seems fine. And against any kind of beatdown deck, I do like bringing in Nod of the Bone.
It's interesting he has Collective Brutality in his sideboard. It's a very powerful effect for this deck, but it feels to me like it would be a main deck card or you don't play it.
Yeah, and there's one thing about Dredge. This deck is still being figured out. You know, Ross has been talking about how there's already some main deck changes, specific things he wants he's going to be looking at, he's not really sure of, and there's going to be matchups where Collective Brutality just doesn't really do much. Even if you had your pick of any of those 3 modes and weren't discarding a card, you might not do anything of value in certain games.
Yeah. Players are going to get ready for game number 2 here. We're going to take a second. We'll talk about the Star Sea Games Creature Collection. So this is some of your favorite Magic art that we have had both on our what am I saying? All right, the creature collection that you've seen on the game night promos, as well as other creatures appear on playmats, sleeves, and player bundles, and they're available now for purchase. So the Young Burromancer, this is the one that it's been the game night promo here in August. It's, of course, Young Pyromancer. You can get that on a playmat. You can get that on your sleeves. You can get that on a deck box, just player bundles, tons of things here. So you can find these. We also have some selected art by Andrea Radek also available. These are all starseagames.com/creature collection. You want to head there and check those out. They're all pretty great.
Yeah, these are pretty awesome stuff. Whether you're a fan of fluffy animals or you're a fan of puns, you're a fan of cool art, there's a lot that you get delivered here.
Such as the Fruit Bat. This one was not a game night promo, but yet you can still get it. This full art. I like this one quite a bit. He's just cute.
This is one of those things that is cute in a fantasy setting and horrific in reality.
If you opened a watermelon and there was a bat inside of it, what if it was a very contented bat?
So if I open up a watermelon, the top 2 things I don't want to happen are 1, the watermelon is full of bees, 2, the watermelon is full of spiders.
Well, there we go, not there.
Bat is a potential number 3.
It would just be singular bat. It wouldn't be full of bats.
Yeah, it could have maybe 3 or 4 bats.
That's a huge watermelon you're just opening.
Watermelons are big. What are you talking about?
Bats are big too. See this fruit bat here? He's the size of most of the watermelon.
So if the problem is that the bat is so big that the watermelon can't fit multiple bats, maybe I would prefer bat. I would be more afraid of bat than spiders.
He's not gonna bother you. Look, he's full. He ate so much watermelon. He's just happy. He's probably gonna go take a nap.
I would rather that he napped in somebody else's watermelon.
Well, it could be someone else's watermelon. That's why they're available on the store.
All right.
All right. Both players have mulligan to 6. We're going to go back to the match. You know, in Legacy, Dredge doesn't care when they mulligan. That might just be true in Modern as well.
In Modern, you definitely have to mulligan a good amount because there's just a bunch of stuff that's not working, and you can start going off and stop much more often than you would in Legacy or certainly in Vintage.
The cards at the bottom of the barrel are a lot murkier in the Modern deck.
Yeah, there's nothing on the Shriekhorn level in Legacy.
Hey man, Shriekhorn, not only does it mill you for 1 more than Tome Scour, you can also sack it to your Gargadon.
It's perfect. It's just good deck building.
Adam Dennison on the play. Both players on the mulligan. So he starts off on Stomping Ground and just passes. Not actually too many 1-drops in the deck. He's got Noble Hierarchs, Champion of the Parishes, and Avacyn's Pilgrim. 10 1-drops, none of them in the opener.
Yeah, and I imagine that most of the games that Adam is winning, it's just with a critical mass, setting up things like big Champion of the Parish, big Thalia's Lieutenant. If you don't have the champion, presumably the hand has either Thalia's Lieutenant or Mayor of Evergrook. In this matchup, Rest in Peace, great thing to keep on. You
know, we see these decks in Modern always kind of this critical mass you're describing. You know, we've seen this 4-color Humans deck. Sometimes we'll see Slivers do well. Sometimes we will see Allies do well. I feel like these decks are all doing relatively the same thing.
It's
They're just
all
critical.
Merfolk. It's all just different Merfolk decks.
Ugh, that sounds so depressing when you put it that way.
I have a way of doing that.
Making good things sound boring. All right, Ross's turn 1 is a Faithless Looting, discarding Prized Amalgam and Golgari Grave Troll. All right, we're setting up shop again.
Well, these lands can't cast Rest in Peace.
Uh-oh. It is Cavern of Souls, naming human and champion of the parish for Adam Dennison. We're back to Ross, a dredge of 6. Neonate, Grave Troll, Amalgam, Bloodghast, Collective Brutality. So he's got a ton of dredgers, a second Amalgam. No way to get any of them back yet.
Well, also there's a Faithless Looting in hand, so things could get pretty crazy with that double Grave Troll.
Oh, gross. Okay, here's Grave Troll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bloodghast is going to hit along with Gnaw to the Bone.
How do I lose when I have all these Shriek Horns?
I mean, you're closer to Delirium. I don't know. He draws a second Grave Troll and bins a third prized Amalgam.
All right, this is actually quite good for Ross.
All right. He has to discard 2. He'll discard all the Grave Trolls. So he milled himself for 12 there. Yeah, hasn't played a land. So here's a tapped Blood Crypt. Here's Bloodghast, and he's got 3 zombie friends that are going to join him at the end of the turn.
It's flavorful. Blood Crypt triggers Bloodghast. And Ross goes to a casual 11 power on the battlefield.
I like creatures that you can cheat their mana, anything that costs 0 in Magic. I like cards that cost 0.
Generally pretty powerful.
Look at these. All of Ross's things cost 0. He didn't pay for any of those.
And
it's like he's walking into the creature store and just taking stuff off the shelves, just breezing by the cash register and says, "These are all mine now." That's okay, right?
It's a sweepstakes. He's just running down the aisle and throwing them in his cart.
Whatever, he's not even bothering to look at what it is. He's just saying, Bloodghast off this shelf, a zombie off this one, whatever. I'm just taking them all.
Why'd you get all these 3/3s, Ross? They were free.
And for Adam, on turn 3, he will cast Rest in Peace.
That would have been excellent on turn 2.
Yeah.
Looking a little late here.
All right. Well, Ross has made 11 power. It had better be good enough to win because his deck is not really going to do anything after this point. He draws the 4th prized Amalgam. His only castable card in his hand, I don't even know if he has one. He's got a Narc Amoeba, but no blue.
He's a Mana Confluence, so both of these blue creatures will be castable.
Champion of the Parish trades with Bloodghast. Bloodghast will exile. Adam Dennison will take 9 and go to 10.
Now, if I'm Ross, I might go for Narc Amoeba here. What if some freak thing happens and Dennison just has Declaration in stone, right? Though it's probably going to be very difficult for Ross to win if that happens even without the 4th prized Amalgam, so, whatever. At this point, with Dennison at 10, even with a blocker, if Ross peels a Bloodghast, it'll have haste, and his attack will be lethal through one thing.
This deck is sweet. Look at all these things Ross is doing.
And interesting, so Rest in Peace on turn 2 would have been great for Dennison, but he was on the play. If he was on the draw, Rest in Peace is just bad on any turn.
Reflector Mage from Dennison puts the prized Amalgam back in Ross's hand. Ross will untap with a bunch of 3/3s. Didn't pay for any of them. Here they all attack. Dennison will chump block. Go to 4. Does he have he does not have Supreme Verdict or...
There's just no way you would respect Supreme Verdict out of a deck that casts Champion of the Parish.
What if he Declaration and stoned him right here? How good would that have been? He doesn't have one in his list, but that would have taught Ross a lesson. Deck stone your prized Amalgams, all 4 of them. Ross will play Narc Amoeba and Insolent Neonate. Adam will draw, but barring a phenomenal Collected Company this turn, he's going to die on the next attack.
I don't even think that there is a Collected Company that does it.
That's why I said it was phenomenal.
It's so phenomenal that it finds cards that are not in his deck. I mean, Ross is cheating. Why can't I cheat?
Yeah. So he should take a page out of Ross's book. He casts Collected Company.
All of his creatures
he
on the
casts
table.
Collected Company, and then he should just take 10 cards and just pick all the creatures and just put them all into play and be like, I play these, okay? And then just take some dice. Don't even if you don't have Thali Lieutenants, just start putting dice on all of them. 3 on this guy, 6 on this one, and be like, all right, I block your things.
And then attack with him immediately.
Yeah.
As if they had haste.
But what? And then if Ross complains, be like, I thought this is what the rules were.
I was just doing what you were doing.
Collected Company here, looks at some creatures, throws them down, and it's Ross, Merriam, and Dredge, 8 and 1, finishing the day.
And these are the kind of matchups where Dredge is just going to mangle you. If there's no combo finish in your deck, you're going to crutch really hard on that graveyard hate, but it has to come down very quick.
Yeah, I mean, Adam had the Rest in Peace in his opener. He mulled to 6, and he didn't find a white source until turn 3 and was comically dead.
Yes. Very, very dead. And if turn it around, though, if he has white sources turn 2, if he was on the draw, he still loses that game.
Same thing, yeah. It has to be turn 2 on the play. It's scary. Now, it's not, boy,